So our case study was revolving around a public utilities company. They built through mergers and acquisitions, and they had multiple different networks, a lot of challenges around routing and administration. And so we solved for that by putting together a single cohesive network where really SD-WAN and SD firewall were really the glue of that network, and later on other things like MPLS and more robust internet and broadband connectivity. So they had higher capacity through their different sites, kind of seamless single pane of glass connectivity through SD-WAN, and a single portal for managing all their corporate security at the edge through SD firewall. So our consulting engagement was for 8 months and continuing on through the rollout. Through our efforts, we were able to, on average, 8x their throughput of their network, set them up for their voice over IP and Azure migrations, as well as save them an impressive $35,000 a month.
So we have a publicly traded cosmetics company, and really what they've done is, they have their corporate offices and they have their retail stores around the country. And the relationship started out with an Office 365 opportunity, right, where they wanted to move to the cloud. So we took that, when you take this consultative approach to really understand what's going on in their business, you start to uncover other things, right? So the network infrastructure was a pretty severe pain point, not just for the corporate locations, but then also for the retail. Yeah, you got to transact, right? The point of sale systems is the most critical aspect of it. So we went in, and it was mixed bag of different networking infrastructure technologies that was kind of deployed haphazardly, let's say, from a variety of different folks that were involved in the past. And we came in and standardized everything to a Cisco kind of infrastructure, brought in SD-WAN to help balance the workloads and so on, but did that standardization across corporate and also within the retail locations. So all of this is just part of this overall management service that we provide. Basic foundational technology services as a core is making it work, don't worry about it. It's like a clock, right? They just want to tell time and know that things are green. But what that's allowed us to do, then layer on top of that, build intelligence into it, deploy beacon type technologies to be able to bring new clients into the retail situation by promoting out and tapping those people that with their Bluetooth open to say, hey, come on and register your social identity and we'll get you a discount. So we're doing a variety of different other things on top. So we've deployed this foundational IT service with all the connectivity, all the network infrastructure. Retail has primary, secondary, 4G, right? So they never fail, always able to transact. Black Friday, it's a dream, it just works. But what it's allowed us also to do is then take them on a journey to transform their business, right? So once you have the client, the base core foundational technology services just run like a top, then you can look at how you can drive business value beyond just the core infrastructure, right? How can you make an impact to help them drive more revenue? How can you make an impact to help them reduce cost? And that's when you start really getting into their business and working right alongside of them and doing strategy sessions and planning sessions with them and helping them think differently, right? Because I think that's one of the biggest challenges we see out there. Our clients have a hard time thinking about what is actually possible. When you think about all the available technologies out there, it's insane what is possible. And the same dollar that they spend on maintaining core infrastructure, legacy stuff, if they put a little bit extra in investing in that future, they're going to leap ahead of their competition. So we look at building a roadmap to help take them down to the future, really help transform their business.
Our submission was for a company that is a nationwide pest control, but organic pest control with an international and multinational footprint. We were able to close the sale in 2 weeks because of an immediate need and service issue they were having with old technology, and we were able to leverage our relationship with one of the IT people to go in quickly and create some disruption in a company that is penny pinching, to say the least. We did this costing them more money. We weren't able to save them a dime, honestly, but we were able to make them run much more efficient. I'll let you finish.
Yeah, absolutely. So the efficiency demmed around deploying SD-WAN, giving them more bandwidth to be able to access their retail, essentially point-of-sale system. They sell millions and millions of dollars a month of bugs for natural pesticides to companies like Dole, Chiquita, all of those. And they were having a very difficult time to be able to integrate and get to access to their systems. So we're also deployed desktop as a service. They don't have a very large IT staff at all. So they really, really needed that to happen. And with the APIs back to the Natural Solutions was the platform they were using to be able to do all their transactions. We were able to pull that all together for them to make it very seamless. So now we're hosting that application for them as well. It was mind-boggling for them that we were able to actually do this, and they weren't going to have problems accessing the system, making transactions, doing sales, any of the above. But they were super, super happy. They didn't mind paying the money once we were able to show them the solution and the way that we were able to deploy it.
Did you learn anything on this case that you didn't know going into it?
Who knew that there were bugs that ate other bugs that people would buy? Yeah, honestly, we did learn that, but also that we were able to cause disruption. We oftentimes sit back and wait for a cost savings. We go into a customer looking to save them money or take what they have and make it better, more robust. So doing a little bit of research on the front end, finding out what they had, talking to multi-levels within the company instead of just IT or just C-level, we were able to drill down, quite frankly, and pull a lot more revenue out of it than we went in hoping for.
I mean, I guess I didn't really realize how complex the makeup business is, or how difficult it is to some of their China offices and the people they have to deal with over there, and some of the one thing Darren didn't mention is the insane solution that we put in to deal with their China situation, because China couldn't access half the sites they needed to for corporate because of the Great Firewall of China or whatever. And so we actually dropped in a very complex SD-WAN solution with some network magic on it that backhauled it to the corporate internet line so they could get to the stuff they needed to do. And that all sounds well and good and easy, but that was, the initial architecture of that was easy. Writing all the rules to get that to work was very difficult, very, very difficult. And so we learned a ton there about how to deploy that situation. And I would say this was maybe our first very large SD-WAN deployment. And then you're also deploying in a retail location. So some of the things that he didn't mention is that one of the disasters of the retail locations is nothing was standardized. So you go in any of these stores and it's just crap, right? Like, in my opinion, and I think I said this in a meeting, throw it all away. We need to start over. I mean, and literally our quote illustrated that too. Like, we're going to throw all this crap away, put in all new awesome stuff that's going to work, because that's why this stuff's going down. And so I think that we learned a lot in terms of SD-WAN, because obviously there's a lot of complexities going on. When you have that many stores, everything's routing back to corporate, and you got New York involved, and you have the China situation, and you have a bunch of stuff in Azure, because we moved the bulk load of their servers to Azure too. And there's just a lot going on there, and so you really learned how powerful that could be in terms of how you can route traffic, how you can prioritize traffic, what types of traffic are going on there. Especially if you look at these retail locations, they have all sorts of these iPads and devices for people to look at crap, right? That's all great, but man, those suck up a ton of bandwidth too. And so it's funny, when we looked at their initial stores, we looked at the bandwidth they had. They never even had enough to run basic operations, let alone then you go and install these iPads, and now people can stream video and stuff all the time, and we want to offer our customers Wi-Fi. Not happening, right? And so that's why oftentimes there's 3 and 4 lines in there. But with SD-WAN, what we can do, and if bandwidth starts getting crazy, is just shut down the services that don't matter first to make sure the POS keeps working. And we had a requirement of 5 nines on POS, right? Of at least being available. And so, yeah, I think we learned the true power of SD-WAN and what you can do with it on a very large scale. At least that's what I learned.
I just learned there's a pest control company that brings in other bugs to eat other bugs. It sounds like just a bizarre story of like an island that has a rat problem, so they bring in more cats, and then they bring in foxes to eat the cats and lions to kill the foxes, and it's like a cycle of never-ending fun. So what we learned, the way this deal started off was, so we're 11 years old now, and behind on marketing. So Ryan Reeves is in the front row, and he's really catapulted us. And this actually deal came in as we kicked into redesigning Well, Ben's been big in marketing since forever. It's part of his DNA. So we redesigned logo, we redesigned the website. This is probably our 15th version. And we started doing SEO, and this actually came in as a web lead. We've always been very traditional. I'm not a big fan of lots and lots of subs. I like direct sales and owning the relationship. So we have fewer deals, but we try to stay in there and get deep and wide and do more quality work. And not a lot of just quotes and quotes and quotes. That's why there's other masters out there. But this came in as a web lead, and it looked like a strange company that I sent to Jay, who's the tallest Asian west of the Mississippi. He's so brought in. I forwarded Jay this email. I thought it was this BS. I don't know what this is. This looks strange. And they hired us to come in and evaluate a whole bunch of things on the from routers and equipment to. It started off at looking at MPLS, and we don't even know what SD-WAN is. And SD-WAN is going to come up in everyone's answer in every deal you hear, right? Just like cloud was 5-6 years ago. But the lesson learned for us was marketing. And the deal itself you can dig into a lot. But for me, it was call every customer, call every little lead that comes in because it could be kind of big. That was the high level lesson. The others are just in the deal. And of course, this was it wasn't our first SD-WAN deal, but it was large. It's large and potentially global, but we won't get into that. But we really dug into which carriers are using which equipment, and a lot of this came down to the actual devices that the providers are using. They sort of, from the major providers, not a huge differentiation. They're like, yeah, we kind of like all three, but it came down to, wow, they picked this device, they picked this device, this is actually better. It came down to an equipment play of which had more throughput, which had more security features, and that was interesting. The carrier itself was way secondary to the sexier device and what it could do. And even part of the RFP, security was never really part of it. Very, very minor. It's the biggest thing in the meeting. It came up. The IPS IDS that was embedded in one device versus the other was an absolute deal killer. So it was just interesting to see this all unfold, and for one major provider to think, oh shoot, we're losing this based on not having the right equipment. Why don't we have that? And seeing them argue internally of how come they can do that and we can't, and we're even bigger than they are. So that was interesting. Ben, anything else to well, the high level lesson for me was that marketing works, and call every lead that looks like spam.
I think it's like the age-old lesson, right? As channel partners, we're talking to a lot of customers, and I think a lot of times customers come in and they tell you what they think they want, and I think being on this side, right, we're all exposed to so much different technology out there. So much exciting stuff, and what you have to realize is your average customer is going to know 2% of that. And so as consultants and channel partners, it's our job to go in there, understand their project goals, but also educate them on other technologies, right? So the first thing they thought they wanted was just a third party to manage a bunch of almost end-of-life Cisco routers. And we're like, hey guys, have you seen any of the technology that's come out in the last 5 years? You don't have to, hire router jockeys that are hitting command lines all day. There's some, exceptional, cloud-based SD-WAN solutions out there where you can manage your whole enterprise through a single pane of glass rather than, dispatching a guy and running some command lines. So I think the lesson learned is that I hope everybody, it would be a key takeaway from our talk here, is as channel partners and consultants, be there for your customers, understand their goals, but don't be afraid to suggest other options or bring in other technologies and show them why it's important to their business, show them how it's going to improve their uptime, show them how it's going to improve their productivity, show them how they could possibly save money, maybe not on their phone bill. For example, for you guys, it costs them more, but I guarantee, our case study and your case study, the company is going to see all that money come back in spades through added productivity and added uptime. And so don't be afraid to introduce new technologies and have that dialogue with the customers and let them know that this is all for bettering their company.
One of the points that you brought up was that it's not necessarily about the money, and that is what the entire CP360 award is about. It's not about the biggest sale. It's about basically about the biggest think. Who did the best job, to give their customers what they needed, give their clients what they needed. So as channel partners and advisors, we've all heard the term transformation the past few days. How do you find that changing for you right now? From where you started to where you are now, what are you doing differently? What are you no longer doing? That sort of thing. You want to start?
I think we've changed our mindset to stay relevant. I think in these days we have to be a bit more disruptive than we've been in the past. We have to be willing to walk away from business if it doesn't make sense, but we also have to be willing to challenge our customers to think outside what they think they want. I think to your point, we need to be very vigilant in making sure we're putting the right solutions in for them. And that's not something that, I mean, we've always tried to sell them the right things, but we've, in the past, maybe been a little bit more complacent or gone with, you say you want MPLS, here's MPLS, right? I think that what we are doing now is to be as disruptive as possible.
I mean, we had to build a whole new business. I mean, we built, so we have, the core IT services, consulting services, and really we want to build things so you don't want to manage it, right? We don't want to have to manage it. We're kind of in a world now where technology is supposed to start working for us, right? You can build automation, workflow, and systems to actually govern and manage itself. So once we have that core foundational IT services, what we did is, start looking at the data, and really the data from all systems, not just the infrastructure systems, but the business applications. So we built a whole new part of Infinite, and that's focused on development, right? So we build solutions on top. So we layer on intelligence for predictive analytics, different type of solutions that actually apply intelligence on top of the infrastructure, on top of the business applications that give the executives the visibility they're looking for, help tie how they can influence the workforce, how they can create a better experience for the client. And then we innovate and create unlimited things. Really, everything is possible now. And that dollar that they spend on that legacy stuff, if they, again, push a little bit more into the future stuff, they're going to get a higher yield, and they're not going to be left behind. So it's really kind of the biggest challenge is convincing the client that, hey, this is an opportunity to double down on technology investment. It's not a cost center anymore. It should be looked at as a revenue generator or a massive cost saving center by looking at the friction in the business, right? So you look at Amazon. There's a reason why Amazon's been able to leap ahead of everybody, because they use data to drive the elimination of every friction point throughout their supply chain, throughout the client experience, throughout their operations. And customers need to appreciate, in order for them to adapt and transform themselves. And we're investing in ourselves. We're transforming ourselves. We built this new service, software delivery practice where we're actually building our own intellectual property now, which is really cool. But we're actually building new, innovative, crazy things for our clients. Applying ML, AI, we built a really neat, augmented reality app, so you can look at something and the education takes place while you're looking at it on your phone. Everything is possible. So that's really what we did. I mean, we had to look at where our clients needed to be, and then make sure Infinite could deliver it by building out a whole new part of our business.
I think traditionally channel partners, right? We lived in the voice and data segment, right? And then companies had a guy for data center. They had a guy for or girl, sorry. Yeah. So they had a person. They had a team for infrastructure. They had a team for storage. They had a team for networking, like routers and firewalls. And then they looked to channel partners to handle their voice and data. And then now all that's changed, right? As channel partners, we now have kind of our hand in every part, right? So there's the traditional infrastructures being rapidly replaced by private and public cloud, right? Which we all have the ability to sell that. We still have our voice and data business. A lot of legacy voice is being moved to UCaaS. And on the routing infrastructure side, right, network function virtualization, right? So now everything's delivered software as a service, monthly reoccurring. And so as channel partners, it used to, there'd be 5 different companies landing all these different elements for a customer. Now, as channel partners, we have the opportunity to increase revenue, increase impact, increase ROI, have one person that's handling all these aspects of their business, and even getting into the application layer, which you guys pointed out. So I think there's never been a better time to be in this industry right now, where we have more tools in our at our disposal to really make great impacts in companies, and definitely make some good money while we're doing it too.
And just to add to what Ben said, it's sort of, I mean, obviously the three different companies over here are, I think, probably answer what I'm about to say is what we see out there, and the general thought is, part of it's my paranoia. Like, I assume there's going to be another agent in the account that I'm trying to work, right? So the angle that we take is, and especially the last 5-6 years, it's very saturated. It's getting a lot more saturated. Like, everyone's leaving and forming partnerships. But when I look at our team, we try to just make sure that, honestly, we're quite honestly smarter and more knowledgeable about the topics they're talking about. There's a lot of just reps, and if you talk to lots and lots of people at functions, at happy hours, and you challenge them a little bit, it makes you sometimes feel better. You're like, you really don't know what's going on. They'll know PRIs and POTS lines and DIA, but you've got to be way beyond that. So where we try to win deals, like we have a very high win rate when there's multiple agents in there, but we try to be smarter and just outwork them, and that's what we try to. You got to somehow stay competitive, and I think just more training, more tutorials that you know, the more you know in depth, many layers deep about your product and your industry. That's how we've been winning it, and then just rolling your sleeves up, doing a lot of the dirty work in the analytics and the financials, but different pieces, and it's all been evolutionary, right? I'm sure with you guys too. It's just you have the demand creates the demand the customer has makes you go back and go, I need to be an expert in that. Then the next deal, you kind of are, because you've been through that, and it's being up here, and the larger successful partners that you guys meet, there's another 99% that aren't doing as well, which I'm totally fine with. But like but that's been our angle, is just to I got a 15 out of 10. That's great. But I'm sure you guys are thinking the same thing. But we just try to, and I have a lot of respect for the top agents out there. We're gonna, obviously, if we compete, we play to win, which I expect everyone to. But like, our whole angle right now is just trying to, honestly be as smart and knowledgeable about every new technology that comes out.
I agree with the smart and knowledgeable part, but I have to tell you, I don't agree with your peers are your enemies. I don't think that it's important for us to be smarter than other agents to compete. I think we have to be savvy. I think we have to understand our product and our customers, but I think we have to be kind to each other as well. I think that we work with peer groups all the time where we assist other agents, and we call in other agents that have an expertise that we don't have. So I think we've been very successful in recognizing the fact that relationships within our group of peers has been very successful for us.
Every digital asset your client has, what is that total IT spend, right? It's a pretty hefty budget, likely. And what's your little percentage of that, right? How much are you actually capturing? And what we've been doing, because we don't sort, we have a partner. We have partners that we get internet, service provider, all this stuff from. We don't, go direct to a master. Well, we do different. It just depends, right? We have partnerships because we don't need to be experts in everything. We just need access to expertise. So we work with, the domain that provides the, internet to really help us find the best option for the locations and all that great stuff. But the thing to think about, with all digital assets your client has, you could potentially have that, is it's a lot easier for, I guess, the traditional managed service providers that provide IT services, the hosting and the management and help desk and all that, to go down and get the network, I think, than it is to go up and get the business app from your guys' perspective, right? Because, and so that's where we're seeing a lot of partnerships with folks like you, because, we can come in and be that digital change agent and actually have the ability to execute on building out new mobile solutions, new AI, whatever it is, all the fancy stuff. But we have those capabilities. So when you think about it, you can bring in an expert. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but the partnership stuff, right? There's an ocean of opportunity for all of us. And this next wave of what's happening and how radically things are going to change and how fast it's going to change, it's like neck break. I mean, we're going to be like, whoa, remember last year when we were up on stage talking about this stuff? It's going to be nutty, right? So it's the ones that early bird, right? The ones that like work hard, work smart, and then partner right, and then get there first, and then shape the opportunity. Because sometimes when we're talking to clients, we're like creating new stuff. I mean, they never even thought about these things ever, right? And then we're going, okay, we're going to build a strategy, a long-term thing. Because the point is, we want every digital asset in a recurring model ideally, and we want to be the CFO's best friend, where they get one invoice for it all. No one's ever going to come knocking on the door to take that away from us, right? So.
Yeah. Did anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I got a question. I wonder if each of you could just address something near and dear to my heart, the SD-WAN player that you chose for your client, and quick pros and cons of why you picked it.
I'll start. Yeah, so the solution we chose was Versa. Viptela and Cisco IWAN and VeloCloud were also evaluated. What it came down to was really around scalability, right? So for roughly about the same price, there was large differences in throughputs for the different devices, and we felt that Versa had the most scalable and highest throughput option in the marketplace for this customer. And then also embedded security, right? So I don't think if a customer can get a solution that does SD-WAN and security all in one, and now with SD-WAN, obviously you can run it in high availability really easily. I think customers are going to go that route versus having to get an SD-WAN box, a Fortinet or Palo Alto box for security, and then another device for like load balancing or caching. And so I think Versa was the right choice for that customer because it presented more features and better throughput than the competitors for this given opportunity. And by no means is Versa the right solution every time, right? Obviously, we should all know as channel partners, why one versus the other, because every company is different and every company has different preferences and requirements. So in this case, it was Versa. Thanks.
At the end of the day, it just has to meet the customer's requirements, for you, and you have to be able to work with them in an easy manner. Obviously, it has to be good hardware. But we selected, so we worked with Big Leaf, who's kind of a no-name, pretty small partner up in Oregon, but tell you what, I can call the CEO, and they make stuff happen for us. I mean, we wrote a whole huge monitoring dashboard for them now, based on the data that we were the first partner to get access to it. Now they've created a whole API, so we've kind of helped each other. And they ramped for us. They got to where we needed to be. And so I think in a lot of these deals, it's important to right size it. So on one side of the spectrum is Big Leaf, on the other side is Ariaka, right? Which is, your $10,000 a month SD-WAN solution. And that's who we used to deal with China. And as far as we could tell, they were the only ones that could have done that. Maybe there's some others that have done it, but at the time, there wasn't a whole lot of options. And so we really, like working with those two providers. That said, if we go into a deal tomorrow, and we don't feel like Big Leaf's right, then we'll just go with somebody else, right? And I think you have to have that flexibility. I think the key at a client site for us was really standardization. So if we're going to go with Big Leaf once, we're going to go with Big Leaf across your whole organization. We're going to go with the same firewalls and obviously various sizes depending on the size of the site. Everything's going to be the same, right down to the cabling, how we label the racks, how all that stuff's done is going to be exactly the same. And you have to think, one of the things that we have to do is we're a full stack provider, so we also have to support like the retail locations. So if shit goes wrong out there, we got to send a tech out there. And we obviously do that through partnership. But and obviously those techs aren't going to be the greatest, right? They're hardware-based techs. So they're going to go flip switches and do this or that. So in order for our high-end engineers, or really just our kind of level 1, level 2 techs that are sitting on our NOC to walk them through it, everything has to be very standard, right? So they have to know, hey, you're kind of looking at this is what it's going to be. And so that was really what was important to us, is get the same solution, get the right solution, and get the same solution. And if I can sell Big Leaf every single time, I will, but let's face it, you're going to come into situations as stuff evolves, especially in SD-WAN space, where you have to move to a different solution. And then it's just, I want to kind of standardize on that solution for my client till the next refresh, and then then ideally you're re-standardizing. Especially as a company grows, the biggest issue I see with companies, and I've been doing IT for 20 some odd years, and I did start a company, but I'm mostly an engineer. I came up through Microsoft and all this, and I've worked on some very big networks, done some pretty cool stuff. It is, as a company grows, they don't standardize, and they just start going crazy and put a bunch of crap in, and then ultimately that kills their ability to have like optimal operations and productivity, and so they end up having to spend a ton of money to tear it all out and do it right. And so if you can catch a company early in that process and help them do it right off the bat, I think you save them a lot of headache in the long run.
So for this particular opportunity, we chose Matrix IBS for the SD-WAN opportunity. We did use VeloCloud. As you said, there's so many choices out there, and the objective is, does it work? And let's give them the right thing that's going to make it work for them. You know, Lanyap Networks and myself and Angie very much are into building the relationship with the different suppliers that we work with. To your point, you can call the CEO and they'll answer your call if there's something wrong. So that was in part why we chose Matrix ABS as far as a pro. You know, I don't really think there was any cons around the choice that we made, because they provided a high level of service, they provided what the customer needed, and that's why we chose Matrix.
The question is about consulting. Do you do it as part of the package, or do you charge for it?
Yeah, I can start. We have no standard engagement, right? So sometimes it's, hey, we're just looking for A, B, and C, right? And it's more of a sale. For a consulting engagement where we're doing a lot of analysis, legwork for them, helping with the implementation, yes, we do charge for services.
It really just kind of depends on the value, you know, we shape in that initial discussion. If we're actually going to be solving problems that are going to make a difference, then yeah, I'm going to get paid, right? But most of the time it's cost of sales, right? You're really working to shape, you know, the answer you're going to provide, and there's going to be a dollar value attached to it that they're going to sign off on, which is ultimately, you know, paying for that upfront.
We do have a pro-serve agreement, however, we don't use it in most cases. We will do the upfront consulting on the hopes of closing the business, which typically pays off.
In the opening, it was said, you do you. Whatever that is, you do you, and you do it well. Obviously, you did. How do you do you?
The only way I know how: snarky, sarcastic, truthful, frank, brutally honest. I have one customer that says that they gauge how a carrier relationship is going by my face, because I don't have a good poker face. So if the carrier's trying to bullshit them, they'll look at me and go, okay, I don't think so. So that's me.
So I think one of my favorite things to do is be with a customer, understand their world intimately, right? You know, what motivates them? How do they get compensated, right? What's their bonus structure, right? If you know what their financial motivation is, you know, maybe there's other joy they get out of, you know, work, you know, the team and, you know, the culture of the company and things like that. But really understanding the customer's business, understand, you know, really what drives them, and then, you know, really understand what you can do for them, where you can take them, and then shape and almost, you know, I call it North Star. Our favorite thing to do when we're sitting down with the client is, let's paint the North Star. You know, after you have that sit down, you're kind of going through what are the top issues and priorities and issues and so on and so forth. You can start to see where, you know, what they could be. You know, if they started to invest in a variety of different technologies to help them improve their business, there's a North Star that you can set out, that you can go towards. And all that means for us is that it's revenue, it's money, because it's going to be technology, it's going to help pave the way for them to get to that North Star. So I think that customer intimacy is so key and critical to understanding what their North Star could be, and then putting it out there for them.
But first, just want to say this is a great award. I mean, I think we're lucky to be in our industry. I mean, I think it's again, just lucky. If you look at other industries, that the way their pay is structured, I mean, we all kind of lucked out. Whatever that twist of fate is that brings you to working in this industry, I think it's fantastic. I think it's great that it's constantly changing. I mean, to be recognized up here with different peers that have a lot of respect for, and back to competition too. Like, I actually would never see partnering. I think it's healthy. Like, people that I compete with, I go to their weddings. We're really good friends, right? We've tried to partner. It gets really ugly. It's easier sometimes. And I'm a big fan of healthy competition. Like, we go to the bar and we have drinks, but we'll fight it out. And I think the customer wins, right? Well, if I know a very good friend of mine's in a deal, we actually work way harder. Customer gets actually better service. So I'm a big fan of healthy competition. But again, how do we do we? I mean, yeah, I think everyone has their own style that happens naturally. And ours, We've kind of grown by getting the right people, and we're just trying to stay above water by knowing, my best friend's in there competing. I want to know a little more than he does, and it's nice to have that fire under you to go out there and learn it and know if they're presenting the day after me, it scares the crap out of me. But we try to earn it and try and keep those customers, and it's just a constant knife fight out there, and I think in a positive way, right? I don't see competition as negative at all, and maybe they win part of it, maybe we win. But I think it's very healthy to try to win the whole thing and the customer benefits, and we love our customers. Don't like when they leave, but love our team. These guys up front. Some look more bright-eyed than others, but we love them all, and I love the industry and really appreciate being on this panel. And it's again, I just think we're lucky to be in this industry and be in the position to not be dinosaurs and change our model every few years to change. Like these guys have, sounds like, two different models, and they're juggling, and we're all selling roughly the same thing in different flavors, and I love it. I think it's all positive and fun, and I think we're lucky to in 3 years, 5 years from now, be selling something totally different and not be stuck being like a Cisco VAR or selling any kind of box that I think is going to be gone in a couple of years. So
I think it's important to put your blinders on to things like commissions and stuff like that. I think if you focus on doing the right thing for the customers, adding value, helping them get their goals, I think the money just takes care of itself. So, I think if anyone is newer to being a channel partner in the room, I would say focus on doing the right thing by your customer, and don't pay attention to the commissions as much. You should have a fiduciary duty to your clients.
I just want to add one thing to that. We don't ever even look at spiffs. We had a particular vendor, an opportunity that we were selling, and they're saying, can we show you this spiff? We're like, no, if you try to show us this spiff one more time, we're not going to sell you. So once the opportunity was signed, they're like, can I show you now? It was $60,000 in spiff. You can't sell on that. Yeah, you can't sell on that.
We had a big UCAS deal, and the loser they said, we know why you went with them because they have a big spiff. And I was like, whoa, slow down here. I can show you exactly why you lost. I go, we do blind ranking. We have a very methodical process where we rank. I give if there's 3 from the customer and 2 from our side, I make everyone rank individually. They send it to us. I tally it. We go back, and they don't have to choose that, right? You can choose the third person you ranked, right? But I was like, you want to know why you lost? I'm first of all, we have the ability to say, we didn't sign anything, and if you want to call us out, it's very, very naked. I'm like, go to the customer, but they're like, well, it's all because of the spiff. I'm like, well, you can't. Just like you said, you can't work that way because I feel like it would be so transparent within 2 seconds who you're pushing, right? So.
And we would like to thank Infinite Consulting, Lanyap Networks, and Shamrock Consulting Group.